Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with veteran jazz pianist John C. O'Leary III. We principally caught up with him about his new 2022 CD called The Sundering. It's his latest solo album and debut for Arbors Records, and it opens up listeners to all that makes humans vulnerable. It offers a glimpse into the main character's life scenes that evokes moments full of emotion. He was born in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico and left everything behind at the age of 12 to pursue a better life in America. He has a PhD in neuroscience and has performed with jazz legends like Randy Brecker, Houston Person, Charles McPherson, Jason Marsalis, Melissa Aldana, and so many others. He's got a fascinating story. He's been on a great ride. Enjoy.
Hey, thanks for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Likewise.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. And so let's get into The Sundering. And as we do, I want to know, before we kind of get into how you put this album together, it's coming out during a time where, the world has obviously been going through this pandemic for 2 years, and it's unrelated. Things have opened up, they've closed down. But this particular time to release this album, how do you feel?
It feels great to have had the opportunity to work on a creative project, to have this opportunity to sit during this time and think about what I wanted to present, who I wanted to present it with, how the story that I wanted to tell through the music. It couldn't have come at a better time to have the actual time to sit down and do it.
Well, and I guess that's been kind of the silver lining of all of this. Musicians have finally had the opportunity with this pause to kind of lean back, take stock, and do things that they hadn't had time to do before. Was that kind of a part of what was going, Yeah,
I mean, a big problem with recording is that you put these dates together and you get to the studio and you just put a collection of things that you're working on. There's no narrative that brings them all together. There's this, some of most of my favorite albums happen to have a tight idea and inspiration that helps tell a statement. It's not just songs recorded, put together in a playlist. It's the whole album is a work of art in itself. There's a story, there's the photography, there's a lot of depthness and the whole thing that ties everything together, and everything about the album, the colors, the photography, the name of the songs, the meaning behind them, who's on them, how everything tells a story, helps tell the story of the intention of the artist, and it's hard to put that much detail into an album, and so having the time to do it was certainly great.
So what are you hoping the listener gets from this experience? Ultimately, what are you hoping they feel and get from the entirety of it?
So this is one thing as an artist, we do not get to decide what other people feel when they listen to our music, when they experience our work, And so I hope that people enjoy it, that there is positive that comes out of it for them. But the fact that they feel anything, I think, would be the greatest thing that I could hope. Even if they hate it, if they have a strong feeling towards it, that's good. I did my job if people feel when they are listening to this music. Maybe I think good music allows for others to see a part of themselves in it. Good art, I would say. I'll leave some room for the other person, and I'm hoping that my story, somebody is able to relate to that and say, hey, I'm not the only one that went through this, or even just say, wow, this is a really interesting way to grow up and to see the world.
Your journey in music began in the Yucatan Peninsula, and you came to America at 12. But talk to me a little bit about your childhood and how you fell in love with music, and more specifically jazz.
Gosh, jazz came later. I was in high school when I started jazz, but with music, my mom was a concert pianist. So I was born in the Yucatan because my mom's family lives in the Yucatan, and that's where she wanted to be, to have the support from her family. But we actually lived in Cholula, Puebla at that time. And so after I was born, we moved to Cholula, and I lived there for 4 years. And then my mom and I moved to Mexico City, where she was a pianist, concert pianist, and studying with a specific teacher there. And then we moved to LA for a year. So then we moved back to the Yucatan in like 91, 92. And that was the first Christmas that I had without my dad. That's why that song is called Christmas 1992. My mom was a concert pianist, so I was always involved with everything that she did. She did concerts. You know, I was in the womb, and she was playing concerts. And then as a kid, as a single mom, she would take me everywhere. And we'd go to a ballet rehearsal, and she was doing a concert with a violinist accompanying. So I'd be there at those rehearsals or with an orchestra. And so wherever she went, I was always there listening, experiencing the art, you know. She had a piano studio at home, so she was teaching lessons. So then I would take lessons with the kids as well, but then we'd play. And so music was an everyday part of my life. And it was until I moved to America in 1998. Once I moved here, my mom was Spanish teacher. And so she was a Spanish teacher, and there was no more music studio. There was no more lessons with lots of different people and playing. And she taught some lessons, but it wasn't the same vibe where all she did was music, and there I was. And so I went to the school, and there was a band there, and I said, hey, I'd like to join the band. But there was no piano as part of their ensembles. They had wind ensembles and stuff. And so they gave me the tuba, and I started playing the tuba there. And then I played the tuba all through middle school and high school. So I came here and I started 8th grade. So I did 1 year of 8th grade here, and then high school. And then when I went to college, even, I was a dual major of tuba performance and chemistry. So then the last 2 years of high school, I played the last 3 years of high school, I played in the jazz band. They needed a pianist, and it was the first opportunity that I could actually play piano. So from like 1998 to 99, 2000, until 2001, I was not playing the piano very much. And then I played in the jazz band, but I didn't know how to play jazz. So I just read the sheet music as best as I could, and I would listen. The listening, I think, was a big part in just starting that subconscious to go, to start hearing improvisation. And one of the first tracks I fell in love with was Oscar Peterson, one of these Pablo things. It was, I think, live at the Montreux Festival in 1977. They were playing Samba de Orfeo. And this is with Clark Terry, Joe Pass, NHOP, and Ronnie Scott. Not Lionel Hampton, but what's his name on Vibes? That record was one of my favorite records growing up, and I couldn't play along with the album. Milt Jackson. Yep. I couldn't play along with the album. It was too fast. Their playing was too fast. Their bebop lines were too intricate. But I listened to it and listened to it and listened to it. And then when I got to college, I was a tuba major. And I didn't play the piano for 2 years. And then the spring of my sophomore year in college, I decided I wanted to play music again, jazz again. and I fell in love with it. I met the La Lucha guys, and that's where it all started. So then I kind of started my major over 2 years into college.
You also have a PhD in neuroscience. You have an interesting right-left brain kind of thing going on here. How does all that work for you?
Man, it's so interesting because it's both sides were kind of part of my family. My dad and my grandfather really wanted me to go into medicine. My grandfather was a radiologist, and he was a fantastic doctor and brilliant and a really generous person, and they wanted me to follow in my grandfather's footsteps. And my mom actually went to medical school before she became a full-time musician. And so I kind of had medicine everywhere. My mom's brother is a pathologist, and he's brilliant as well. And so I was like surrounded by so much art and medicine. That was like my life, because my dad's a photographer. And so then everything is art and medicine. And so I was going to be one of the two, I felt. That was my environment. And so I was pre-med and music, and I finished with a BA, a Bachelor's of Arts, in jazz piano performance, and an honors thesis in chemistry. I had enough to go to the College of Medicine. I was honestly really scared to pursue a career in jazz. I didn't want to disappoint my family, and I had developed this really bad tennis elbow, and so I was just like, I'm not there yet. Also, when you go to get a PhD in biomedical sciences, you get a stipend. They pay for 80% of your tuition, and plus you get a teaching stipend. And it was like I could pay to go to college at a master's in jazz, or I can get paid to go and get a PhD in something on top of everything else that was on top of the fear and the injury. And so it just felt like it was easier to do that at that moment in time. I'm glad that I did it, but it delayed my music activities for another 5 years. So I spent a lot of time not playing the piano in my formative years.
So talk to me a little bit about, you've been around a lot of legends over your time, and I'm sure you've learned a lot from them, from Randy Brecker to Charles McPherson, Wycliffe Gordon, Melissa Aldana. What have you learned from these big names in jazz that you in turn have used to teach younger players that you get around?
Charles is very much into neuroscience, and he thought that was fascinating. And he told me to, even though I was playing music full time, to continue to nurture that part of me and to continue to find ways to put that into my art. I've heard that from many other people as well. I think it's unique to have that kind of training in music, because it's just, it's hard to be good at music, and it takes a lot of time and dedication. And so generally you're all in music early on, and that's why these people are so good. And so it was cool because they gave me kind of validation about who I am, and that it was okay that it took a while to find the path, and that it was an advantage because I had more places to find inspiration from. And during the pandemic, it certainly has been useful to have a PhD in neuroscience who know how to read a scientific study and how to parse scientific information out, for sure. I think the biggest part that I learned is to be myself and develop, the thing that I can do uniquely. And the reason we love those artists is because they had their own distinctive way of playing, and it was distinctive enough that we could all tell, wow, that's Melissa playing, that's Charles playing. It doesn't take very long to listen to Chick before you know it's Chick Corea. And they were able to get the idiosyncrasies in their personalities and translate that into their playing. And I think just to be myself and to continue to develop that.
So at this point in your career, with everything that's happened up to this point, all the roads you've traveled, what are you the proudest of? What do you like the best about where you're at with your career right now that's happened?
I couldn't be any happier to be where I'm at right now. This is everything I've ever dreamed of. I'm just a kid from Mexico. I never thought I was going to have the opportunity to play jazz professionally. I left everything behind, everything, my family, my dog, all my possessions. I came to America with nothing but a suitcase and a dream, and that dream was a fuzzy vision more than anything. And to be able to make a living playing music and to have this wonderful endorsement from Yamaha and work with Arbors Records and play with some of my heroes is a dream come true. I hope to continue to do more of it. And next week we're playing in the Sarasota Jazz Festival, and we're playing with Russell Malone and Terrell Stafford, and we're opening for Arturo Sandoval, and I couldn't be. I feel like this is incredible. I need to keep practicing and working hard and continue to develop myself to earn more of these opportunities and to keep doing the thing. I guess this last record that just came out, The Sundering, I'm really proud of the way it came out. I'm really proud of my playing and writing, and I want to keep that as a I want to, keep developing and to do better work. This is my life's purpose,
Yeah. Well, now you're talking about live shows coming back, going to Sarasota. Talk to me a little bit about what you hope we all realize about the absence of live music that we've largely been away for 2 years now.
Yeah, it's been a really difficult time for everybody. There's a lot of reasons why that is, but music is part of who we are as a species, as humans. It's something that we've always done, whether with our voices, with drums. We've made flutes out of bones. We've always been interested in sound and in finding meaning in it. And there was always a purpose for music. We didn't just play music just because we played music, because it was part of our culture. It was part of our rituals, and whether celebrating weddings and celebrating that we had a successful hunt, celebrating the rite of passages of people in our tribes. We've always used music as a way to connect and to bring us together. And as the forces in our country continue to pull us apart, we need music now more than ever to find that common ground, to bring us together, to find the things that we have in common, and to create a more solid, unified purpose as a country from the things that we have in common rather than the things that we don't have in common. And through music, I think we can learn to become more tolerant of each other and to be more open-minded to different ways of being, and to explore all the good ideas, no matter what side of the aisles they come from, and to just come together. And not having music for the last 2 years, I personally feel helps contribute to this polarization that we see in our country, And so I'm hoping that now that music is starting to come back and that more of us have immunity from this virus, and that we can all feel safer out, and that we can experience music together and to join in this thing that we love, whether, no matter if we have different opinions, come together.
Absolutely. So everyone has a perception of you, an idea of who they think you are, your family, your friends, your fans. Ultimately,
Yes.
You live your life. You have a perception of you. Who do you think you are?
Ooh, this is a big one.
Yeah.
Gosh, what's difficult about this question is we have a lot of pressure to live life according to how other people want us to live it. And at some point, I realized that I didn't have to live my life the way other people wanted me to live it. And one of the biggest choices I made was to become a full-time musician. And it was a very difficult one. And Lord knows I left a lot of money on the table. But once you start seeing who you are, you start seeing certain foundational parts of who you are as a personality, and you start understanding more of that person. I think all of me has not been divulged to myself yet. I'm certainly not the same person I was in my 20s, but a lot of me has been more recurrent enough that I could say this is part of my personality, part of who I am. I took one of these personality tests from this investor, Ray Dalio. He has a website where he developed personality tests for his company, Bridgewater and Associates. And you take this personality quiz, and my personality is the adventurer. I like to go out into the world and to find something new and interesting and tackle it and learn and be creative. And in that way, music is a perfect job for me because it's endlessly challenging. There's always more things to practice. There's always more things to find, more ways, more combinations of the 12 notes that we have and how to organize them in different ways. And there is, I think part of who I am is also learning to grow and to change and to realize some of the bad parts of myself and to challenge me to become better. And I think every day, every action that we take is a vote for the kind of person that we want to be. And as we start taking those actions more and more consistently, we start becoming those things. So once I decided I wanted to be a musician, it was about doing the things that could, on a daily basis and over time, that identity starts seeping in. I'm a musician, not just because I want to be, but because that's what I do with my actions. And so I hope to be able to continue to choose and to be the best musician that I can be.
John, thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz today. Good luck with the album and getting back out there on stage, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. Likewise. It's a pleasure meeting you. And if I could ever be of help to the station, please let me know. It'd be so much fun to collaborate with you guys. I love being involved with radio in any way that I could help.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players and minds in Mexico, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to John for being candid, cool, and honest. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com. And for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.